Tanakwe, Talofa, and good morning to you people of the internet, and welcome back to the show, and welcome back to another Doctor Who review. It has been a while since I took a look at the show and thought that for today's episode, we should go back to 2005. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I like to look back on 2005 as a pretty good year. Helen Clark won a third term as Prime Minister, Revenge of the Sith came out, YouTube first came into being, and of course, after 26 years in the wilderness, Doctor Who finally returned. Now, I'll admit, I wasn't immediately hooked on the show when it first came back to television screens, but when I did get hooked into it, I got hooked in hard. Russell T Davies managed to enchant me with some incredible storytelling, and I found the whole universe of Doctor Who now flooding in and invading my imagination, at that time so dominated by the universe of Star Wars. And I thought that today we would take a look at my favourite and arguably one of the best episodes of the revival, The Empty Child and the Doctor Dancers. As the episode opens, we're left with no opportunity to take a breath as we're immersed in this new episode. Just thrust in as we see the Doctor and Rose pursue this unusual object through time and space. I like the fact it's so action-packed, and already you're asking questions. Why is this thing so important? Why does it look like a thread spool? It's a good, simple, and easy setup. And as is tradition, there's a new Doctor and a new companion to talk about in my review. Eccleston is a good Doctor, and I love his arc of recovering from his PTSD and his guilt of the Time War. His scars are there for us to see, and there are great moments in the season where they come to a head. But we also see him grow and slowly become more and more of the Doctor older viewers knew, and I love that growth. At this point in the season, he's healed a great deal, at least in my view. As for Rose, I like her, but I consider her to be overrated as a companion. Okay, let me make clear, I do not hate Rose. She has a great chemistry with Eccleston as well as David Tennant, and she gives a really good performance. But I just don't believe she's the greatest companion ever as some do. The greatest companion ever will always be Sarah Jane Smith. I'll talk about the other companion when he turns... Oh, wait. Yes, this is a Steven Moffat story. This was actually his first proper Doctor Who story after writing Curse of the Fatal Death. My opinion on him, I don't consider much different from other fans. He had great stories before he took over as showrunner, and I enjoyed his work on Matt Smith's seasons. But I kind of dropped off when he started with Capaldi. He's had his time, but he still brought us plenty of great Doctor Who stories, and I can appreciate that. And one point of praise from the post-title shot already. The atmosphere is brilliant. It feels like you've had your head pulled underwater, and something about this setting makes you feel unsafe. And that feeling never really lets up. Rose and the Doctor have this little back and forth, a sense of disillusionment with the style the Doctor has towards investigating extraterrestrial goings-on with Rose. A nice way to set up the events. When Rose gets distracted by a child while she waits for the Doctor, she ends up getting sent on her way with a barrage balloon. We get some good shots of wartime London from the sky, and somebody gets a good shot at her.
Excellent bottom.
Yes, good old Captain Jack. His first appearance. I love Jack Harkness, plain and simple, and this episode does give him a solid introduction. He comes across as an interstellar Gaston, flirtatious, a tad egotistical, but all that gets masqueraded by a charm and air of genuine kindness. When the Doctor returns, things get scary. The TARDIS phone rings and a girl appears out of nowhere like a ghost. Steven Moffat's strength is in horror-based stories, and it shows, and he knows how to keep it going. He lulls you into a false sense of security with the girl, Nancy, and a bunch of Cockney orphans raiding an empty home during an air raid, or Rose being rescued and charmed by Captain Jack, and the next thing you know, something's coming. In the case of the meal scene, we see things turn very, very quickly. The bright light in the dining room dips. The child from earlier begins manipulating toys. It's just so brilliantly done. The child is already such a brilliant monster with a nightmare-inducing catchphrase, and a very simple and innocent-looking thing. But we can't lose sight of everything else. We know Nancy knows a lot more than she's letting on from the moment the Doctor lowers his pencil at the table. There's a great mystery here too amongst the scares, and it's a good precursor to Blink. And we return to Captain Jack. I do love that continued charm. We feel like we have an island of trust in this terrifying place, just as Rose does. Unfamiliar to us, yet we feel we can place our faith in him, though we do get a slight lift of the veneer as he dances with Rose aboard his ship. It goes to show how brilliant an actor John Barrowman is, and I do genuinely enjoy Rose's position in all this. Billy does have some solid chemistry, and her enchantment with Jack's approach is pretty awesome. And as the second act becomes the third, the mystery deepens still. We get fed a mislead that there might be another Doctor in this too. But upon entering the hospital, tension builds up. Wards full of people just like the child. And then Dr. Constantine, played by Richard Wilson, who gives a good performance. He builds up the scare factor, even seeming a bit villainous in his own character at points.
Physical injuries as plague. Can you explain that?
But yet, he's just another victim of this mysterious illness. I love how terrifying this all becomes. The gas mask zombies awakening all of a sudden. Constantine trying with every breath to give the Doctor the information he needs to learn what this is all about. And we get yet another awful thing to happen to you in the Whoniverse. Well, there's plenty of that, but the feeling of your face warping into a gas mask, the nozzle forcing its way out of your mouth. Nearly 16 years on, it fascinates and horrifies me to this very day. The Doctor finally meets Captain Jack, reuniting with Rose before the Gastonish parts of Jack in this episode come to play. Naught but a con man. But unlike Gaston, he can be redeemed. And then such a spectacular cliffhanger. Nancy is trapped by the child Jamie, and the Horde comes for our heroes. It's a wonderfully terrifying and intriguing cliffhanger, and a brilliant end to this first half. Well, what more can I say than I love this episode? It's simply filled with some of the best of Moffat. Some good scares, a great mystery, a well-told story, and some great characters to boot. It does everything that a good, solid first half needs. It's good to be able to talk about one of my absolute favourite episodes of the entirety of the show. Well, next time I'm going to be looking at the second part, the Doctor's Answers. But until then guys, goodbye, haere rā.